what might be agency, what might be intention. Are those two concepts, how are they connected? Is it possible, for instance, it's quite possible to have a goal, but then be in no condition to achieve what you want. But is it possible to gain agency yet avoid intentionality? That's kind of the questions I'm asking in this exhibition. The exhibition will focus in 4 areas, which are the technological, the aesthetic, the political, and the social.
The question is having no intention just another form of intention? If the robot was created not to have an intention, that was someone's intention when they created it.
All of the individual wheels are moving, coming across obstacles and randomly deciding which way to turn and everything else. But ultimately, there is a framework of the robot which limits or partially controls the direction of the wheels. But as with the robot, it is all connected. There is connectivity between every single part of that structure. How far it can go is limited by the other constituent parts.
The robot had to adjust and adapt when it came to an obstacle.
I was thinking more, how had the robot been built so that its reactions to what it hit were predictive?
Did somebody think, first of all, I want a robot that will do this, and therefore I'm going to build it to do that one job, which presumably was to avoid the objects in this room? Or does it have other purposes, other objectives?
With all our experiences that we have, and I saw that as the boulders that the machine was bumping into because they were unpredictable, but I see the robot as the turner. So that is predictable, and it is an organisation. It's going to bump against all of us being the unpredictable part of it.
Just from an engineering point of view, you have to have intention to make it work. Otherwise it's just going to end up being static. So you have to understand how to build it so it supports itself. You have to understand how the motors will power the wheels. It can't be too heavy so that it collapses on its axles and things like that.
While intentions can sometimes be maybe contradictory, someone can do something but not really be aware of it or why they did it, or maybe when you are if you think of intention not just in terms of an individual but of a group, and intentions are contradictory within that group, then the intention of the group might not exist as such. And I do believe there are ways out of intentionality.
And we look for the rules that the inventor has put into the machine, and I liked this machine because it looked as if it didn't have intention. It was made in such a way that it depended upon what obstacle it arrived at that had a direct bearing on it so that it would not be predictable.
We're presuming that an intention has to be a choice that's made before we've created something. And I think it's interesting to think about an intention as something that we don't have to choose to make.
So if a group or a robot or anything is created by another person or group or organisation, and there are certain restrictions perhaps within that creation, the design of the thing, can that thing that's been created ever move outside of or beyond those restrictions?
The possibility of objects having agency beyond, or art objects having agency beyond what the intention of their creator was. And I think the robot is a perfect example.
I'm interested in it from the perspective of, particularly from the perspective of power. I suppose from my position, I'm research curator. Do I have agency? Does the institution have agency, even though it's, what is the institution? Is there a shift in who holds power between the institution, me? Because already the kind of attention and power and focus of, I suppose, the debate is constantly shifting.
I had imagined that intention's what you want, or what somebody wants, and agency is how you do it.
It's about being empowered, but that also means being free from being controlled externally.
Agency is not equivalent to freedom because it depends on your contingent relation to others, always.
Did it matter
that we know who put it together? Was it somebody who saw beauty in it, or who just saw a series of movements? So I thought maybe the intention was the person who created it.
When somebody creates a work of art, a painting for example, and puts it on the wall, it acquires its own intentionality or agency or whatever, its own presence in relation to the observer. There's a new relationship there, and it's been set free from the creator. They no longer control it once they let go of it. The birth is given.
My expectation of what the robot was going to do was very different from what the robot actually did.
In my mind, I'm beginning to have to separate the person that created the robot and the robot. We seem to be kind of looking at it collectively, as though, of course, there's intention, there's this object, and its intention is to move without intention. But yeah, let's separate them. Creator, robot. When we then just consider the robot on its own, we have unintentional movement.